Okay, we're going to have a couple words with Craig Benson, and then we have our wrap-up comments by Dr. Johnathan Patz. So sit tight for just a few minutes here while we transition.
So we're going to wrap up soon, but we also have the Weston lecture here afterwards, so right in this room, so and a poster session as well. So we've got some more content. This has been a wonderful day. It's good to see so many people still here after a long day, interested in absorbing information and talking about issues of sustainability and climate change. I think one of the great, a person who has a really good perspective on climate change is right here, Johnathan Patz. Johnathan, I've learned a lot from his perspective on this issue. We got to know each other through our roles as these campus level directors. And Johnathan really has a great perspective on the significance of climate change from a global health perspective. And are you going to talk about that now? Is that the plan? Okay. So I'm actually going to pass the mic to you to chat.
Are you going to talk?
I'd be glad to if you'd like me to. And I'll close it up when we're done.
Okay. I can put this on top. So I just want to say that it's an honor to be here, and thank you for letting me have a few comments. I'm supposed to also help wrap this up and condense things. The good news is that I've only been at UW-Madison for 10 years, so I'm pretty sure that Angela... No, I'm not showing any slides. Okay. No. Angela did not know me when I had hair. Okay. So I'm going to just comment a little bit on my own experience working on climate change for the last 2 decades, and then try to reflect on what I've heard today through the various wonderful sessions. When I first started diving into climate change and the health effects, I work in public health, so I looked at the health consequences of climate change. Back in my day, really the answer was climate what? You know, nobody knew about climate change. And in fact, when the United Nations came to the World Health Organization, I happened to be on rotation there, and the World Health Organization was asked to contribute a chapter to the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. And the answer from WHO was, what is climate change? So we have come a long, long way from then. In fact, when I reviewed my first task when I rotated at the Environmental Protection Agency was to review a government agency report on climate change and what they said about health. Back then, the one sole concern about the health effects was shortages of deodorant. So we have come a long way. And I just flew in from Washington last night. I was at the National Institutes for Health, the NIH, and I'm pleased to announce that across 16 grants related to environmental and occupational health, all but one, and including 25 countries in these 16 grants, all but one of the grants placed climate change as one of 3 top priorities to study. So we are in a new era where discussion and awareness about climate change is ubiquitous. And as Sharon Dunwoody and Marcus Brower pointed out, that discussions on climate change are now becoming the social norm. And Kathy Middlecamp's study about plastic silverware versus metal silverware, even though there are some trade-offs and plastic was more costly as far as the full life cycle assessment, that from disappearance of precious metals, it's still worth doing to continue to promote the social norm that climate change and environmental conservation and energy efficiency is the way to go. And similar to health impacts that happen at the local level, this morning's presentations emphasize the need to meet people where they are, from farmers to fishers, that, you're really going to, it's important to engage that community and talk about the impacts of global climate change as it's going to affect various sectors at the local level. And Kathy Kuntz talked about framing the issue. Climate change is global, but we need to understand the local texture for implications and thereby to have more successful public engagement. On the other hand, part of the communication must be to educate that climate change is not just what is outside of your window. And I don't know why Craig scheduled this forum in the midst of the polar vortex, because, it's a bad idea. I gave a lecture last Thursday up in Hayward, Wisconsin, right before the Birkebeiner. And at the time of my lecture, it was snowing 2 inches per hour, and it was bitterly cold. And the message, I showed slides from Professor Steve Vavris from the Center for Climatic Research here. And he's worked on the polar vortex. And what's so critical is that, you think we're talking about climate change or, global warming. It's not really the right term, but global warming, climate change. We're talking about generally the Earth heating up. And it's extremely important to make sure people look beyond their window. And Steve Vavris gave me an image that I showed in my lecture that just knocked your socks off. If you look at down on the Earth and you're looking at, every place in the northern hemisphere, this is the only place in the northern hemisphere that is cold. Central Canada and the upper Midwest, going down, down to Atlanta, Georgia, but this is the only place in the world that is cold. The Arctic, when we were 10 degrees below normal, the Arctic was 15 degrees above normal. It showed red hot on Steve's map. Alaska was 10 degrees above normal, as was Russia, and I showed images of the protests of the skiers saying it's the end of the Winter Olympics, so we've got to do something about climate change. So it's really important in either direction, either it's super cold or super hot, that people realize that global climate change is not just what they see outside their window, and that's a very difficult but important communication that Sharon is going to tackle for us, right? Sally Kiefer and Michael Muka talked about, the immediate need for adaptation. There are extreme events are already happening. People are experiencing it. We learned from UW insurers that we're already feeling the consequences and the financial consequences. And so there are major risks that are happening, and there are major costs. But Greg Nemeth mentioned the term co-benefits, that in fact, if we tackle climate change, that it's not about, did you show the slide, Greg, about save the planet, kill yourself? Who should? Kathy. Okay, well, that was, save the planet, kill yourself. That's not the right message, right? And the more we look at these issues, in fact, my entire research team has shifted from looking at the risks to looking at the benefits from a low-carbon economy, that there are huge benefits. And I usually end my standard talk on climate change and health risks with a cartoon where a climate skeptic is looking at the list of great things from a low-carbon economy, green cities, walkability, cleaner air, happier people, more endorphins in the brain, all that stuff. And the climate skeptics are saying, what if this climate change is a hoax and we create a better, healthier world for nothing. So I think that this is where we have to push those messages forward. And in the last panel, while education is not the full solution, education needs to come first. People cannot begin to change their behavior, or policymakers act differently if they're unaware of the interconnections between energy consumption, climate change, and societal well-being, both the risks and the many benefits that we have. And as Greg Nemeth, our keynote this afternoon, said, progress will not necessarily be steady, but rather in fits and starts. We can't just expect things to move in one direction and at the same rate. So that is my digestion of what I heard today, and this has been extremely, inspiring and a great turnout and a great speakers, great collection. And I don't know how you did it, except for your poor planning about the polar vortex, Greg.
I didn't do it. Sabrina, Angela, and other people in our office.
Oh, well, I'll let you thank all the people that should really be thanked.
Thanks, Jonathan. I just want to close with a couple of words. For those of you who work with me, I used to be pretty sensitive about talking about climate change in our office, and particularly our leadership team meetings when I was getting a big push. We need to do this and that. And I said, wait a second, this is something we got to be really sensitive to, because there's a lot of politics on this on different parts of campus and in the state government and the like. But after last spring, when we had a big push on divestment from students on this campus, and I listened, and I also listened to talks, several of them by Johnathan Patz, where science talks about the implications of climate change and the connections with health. It became clear to me that we needed to do something as a campus, that we needed to get together and work on this. We needed to get away from advocacy about asking other people to solve the problem, but to find a way for our campus to work collectively to bring our strengths together, not just to add up our little pockets of work around campus, but to really work together to create solutions to this problem. And I think that's really our great challenge as we go forward. A challenge is, people who know me as well as we often start off with challenges, but challenges are also opportunities as well. And so it's actually a great opportunity for us to work together to create solutions. An opportunity, it's a challenge for sure, but it's even greater opportunity. And I think that's where the future is for us to work together as a campus in curriculum, in research, in activity, and operations about how to work together to create solutions that help us reduce our impacts on climate and create a society that will be more sustainable for all of us. And there's clearly a lot of interest in this, because we have people that came here at 8 o'clock this morning and stayed all the way till the end today. And I thank all of you who came and did that, particularly though those of you who put a lot of time in organizing this. Pat was involved. I mean, there's meetings that came after our leadership team meetings on Monday stayed an extra hour, and Angela, Sabrina, Jill, who am I missing? Thomas, sorry. All our interns, yes, all our students. Frank Kustra, Frank's invaluable. So a lot of people that contributed this. This planning effort actually goes on through almost the entire academic year, and we're going to continue to have these events on different themes each and every year as we go forward. So we're going to take a brief break now. We're going to have a transition. At 4:15, the Weston lecture takes place. That's correct, Angela? Yes. All right, so that's in about 7 minutes. That's going to be in this room. And Sabrina, did you have something to add? Oh, there's a SIRE workshop next week, okay? On what day and what time? Oh, yeah. Why don't you come up here and say it, all right? Instead of asking me to interpret.
I thought you had this one in the bag. For those of you who are interested in applying for one of our SIRE grant awards, we have the theme of it this year, or the focus of it, is climate change. And we have a networking workshop next week on Friday, March 7th, between 1 and 3 o'clock, where you can come with your ideas on what you might want to look at for research or education. And we're just looking to get people together across operations, across campus, to basically come up with great ideas on how we can advance sustainability through the lens of climate change this year. So if you are available, If you could send me a quick note, you can get to my email address through our website at sustainability.wis.edu, and all of the information for the SIRE workshop and the proposals is there as well. But we'd love to see you there next week. Thanks.
And we'll have, since it's Friday afternoon, we'll have low carbon and refreshments as well. All right. All right. So we'll take a little break, and then at 4:15 we'll have the lecture. Thank you.